Welcome to the third episode of On Our Stage, a podcast about theater and those who make it, hosted by those who facilitate it, literally. My name is Greg, and I'm the co-owner of the StageCrafts. My wife Jen and I own and operate small performing arts venues throughout Hollywood for our living. Today, I'm coming to you from the lobby of the Hobgoblin Playhouse as I prepare to interview writer and performer Lawrence Meyers. Larry is the man behind the hit solo storytelling show, Did I Just Join a Cult? He maintains that this is the 100% true story of his first encounter with immersive theater at a rather unusual production that went above and beyond to blur the lines between fact and fiction and make its audiences question, is this still a show? Or did I just join a cult? Yeah, it's a wild ride. The StageCrafts are proud to present Did I Just Join a Cult as part of the first stop of the 2026 LA Freeway Circuit, which will be at Parsons Nose Theater in Pasadena. Details about this show and the rest of the lineup can be found at the links in our video description below. And now, without further ado, let's meet our guest. Larry, so great to have you on the pod today. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to ask you the worst question in the world to start an interview off with, but tell us a little bit about yourself.
About me. So I came out here to LA a long time ago for film school, and then was lucky enough to get an agent and ended up right before I even graduated film school, got into television as a writer-producer. I did that for a number of years, and then that petered out, and then I moved into the corporate world and did all kinds of writing and public relations, communications, and then kind of fell into theater then about 10 years ago.
Oh, wow. Awesome. And so what prompted the start into theater?
I was hungry for doing something creative again. Television had been terrific. It was great. When that ended, I was like, well, now what? And after spending a bunch of years trying to figure that out, I decided I wanted to do a play. Someone mentioned Fringe. I looked into it. I'm like, oh, okay, this is a great way to kind of jump into it. And so, so I did that. I had a play that I'd been actually wanting to do for a long time, and that was the original Porn Rock, of which you are both a cast member and production house theater.
Indeed. Yeah, we did we hosted the extension up in North Hollywood at the Belfry Stage, and I took over the role of Dee Snider. That was a fun show. I really enjoyed that show and was very proud to be part of it. I thought that was fantastic. So, Ben, that was your first play?
That was my first play, yes. And
wow.
Quickly at the same time that year, what the show Did I Just Join a Cult is about also fell into immersive theater at the same time. And so for the past 10 years, I've been doing both writing, producing, directing, performing in both of those media.
Wow. Yeah, that's a lot because, I used to do live action role playing back in the day when I was in high school, and that's immersive theater in its own right for the audience of the players. And that I can't imagine putting up regular theater and doing immersive at the same time, because it's just it's just like the logistics alone is enough to make my mind boggle. It's very impressive. So you've so real quick, just about the traditional theater real fast. You got Porn Rock, you've got the Jello Biafra play, yeah?
Yeah, so then in addition to that, let's see, I actually did a second Fringe show the following year, which was bookended by immersive experiences, and then there was a show that was also on Fringe. Sorry?
Oh, with Dark Arts, right?
Yes, that's correct, yes. And that was a great experience. That was where I put myself on stage in a lead role. I figure it had to be done eventually. Let's try it and see how I do. Great learning experience. Yeah. And then that was it for, I think, proscenium plays until the follow-up to Porn Rock, the new Porn Rock, which came in last year, which was about the Jello Biafra trial, the Dead Kennedys lead singer, who was tried here in Los Angeles in 1987 for obscenity by having a sexually explicit poster placed inside of an album. And so that was an extraordinary accomplishment and so much fun writing, producing, performing, working with a very experienced director, and just a fantastic cast that I learned so much from.
That's amazing. Where did that go up?
That went up at the Eastwood Performing Arts Center.
Oh, Eastwood Pack.
Yes.
Love those guys.
Those are terrific guys. It's a great space. and we made the most of it. It was a really educational, enlightening experience working with that big a cast. Very experienced director doing his first show in the theater, and
Nice.
it turned out great.
That's fantastic. I'm super happy to hear that. I apologize I didn't get over and catch it. You mentioned the show to me over the years, and I keep wanting to catch it, and the stars just never seem to align for me, sadly. But I definitely appreciate the fact that your work tends to tackle, freedom of speech and, does stuff straight out of history, straight from the headlines, and really tackle some critical issues then that still are critical now. That's something I appreciate about your work. So besides that, and then in the immersive field, before we jump into did I just join a cult, but I think this kind of dovetails into it nicely. The immersive field, you had Dark Arts, which I actually was in the cast for the epilogue that night.
Oh, that's right.
Beverly Hills. That I was playing the shady businessman that was trying to get everybody to sell you out. That was a fun night. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. There was Dark Arts, and then what else have you done in that realm?
Let's see. So, did another show which was called Precinct 187. This was an idea which struck to me which was based on an episode of an NBC television series called Homicide, which itself was based on an actual case in Baltimore. It was a murder case. And here the idea was to bring in a group of 12 people to act as a grand jury. They're going to evaluate evidence and determine whether or not the suspect should be sent to trial. Well, they happened to arrive at the precinct at the exact time that myself, acting as a detective, and Stephanie Hayden, who was my partner detective in that show, were going to do one last interview with the suspect. So the cast, the guests are invited to come in and observe it. And so they come in. It's about a 40-minute interview, and dramatic, because it's an adaptation of that episode. It's extraordinarily well written. And then I meticulously recreated the evidence from the actual case so that everyone would evaluate it, and then the audience decides whether or not to send the person to trial. So a great experience for people, because there are twists and turns, and not everyone always gets the same outcome. They don't always. Sometimes there's some extra scenes that make people think that they're seeing one thing, and they're very certain what the narrative is. And there's a twist that they find out afterwards that maybe the way they thought they had seen things is not actually the truth.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's another theme I really like to explore is to lead people down a very compelling narrative path, and then flip the script, because that's life too.
Yeah,
we are locked into our way of viewing the world. And immersive theater, what's great about it is it allows people to be present, and they have to pay attention and be mindful and aware of themselves and everything else happening in the space, so that they're living in the space and living the drama.
Absolutely. And what's fantastic about it is that you can have so many people in the room, and everybody has a little bit different experience just based on where they are in the room, or if you have multiple scenes going on in multiple places, everybody has a different experience based on what their particular track was like. It's all unique. And then their experience is based on, or their relationship with the show is based on the experience that they had, which could be completely different from somebody else.
Yeah. In addition, what I discovered with Dark Arts and the immersive portions of it, what I discovered was that also people are coming into the experience with their own life experience. And so how they interpret or experience the moments that they're actually interacting with will be completely unique based on what they're bringing in and what they find there as well. And that's the exciting thing about immersive theater. Yeah.
And it's a bit of a Rorschach test at that point, art as a psychological exam, because what baggage are you coming in with, and what's gonna, I know that I remember there was one particular couple that I was talking to when I did Dark Arts that night, and the minute that they found out that I was, a corporate suit, they immediately didn't trust me. Didn't want anything to do with me, and I knew for the moment that they left that they were going to do exactly the opposite of what I asked, and I'm 99% sure that's exactly what happened. And then other folks were like, oh, I had no idea. Oh, and I felt like I had a pretty good I made a pretty persuasive case for them taking my side in the final encounter as opposed to the other. I didn't get to actually see how it all turned out, sadly, but because I was too busy trying to sway people over to my side in the lobby. But it was a fun night. It was a fun, unique set of experiences, and I really enjoyed it.
Well, what's great about the particular scenes that you're talking about, and this is the whole purpose of immersive theater, I think, is to give people a space to play.
Yes.
Play is a critical part of life. We spend so much of our childhood in it. When we become adults, we forget how to do it. And immersive theater gives people permission to come and play. And like you say, they'll bring in their own experiences. And in the case of Precinct 187, virtually every person who came in had a mistrust or distaste for police. So despite the fact that the evidence was pretty clear that this person, the suspect, should be sent at least to trial because it was a grand jury, I don't think anyone ever voted to do that. And a lot of it was, I think, their bias coming in against police officers. It's interesting.
Absolutely. It's like, because then part of your job, honestly, as the actor, it's not to persuade, but it's like to share that point of view and then see if people accept it or reject it or not. And that giving somebody an alternate view, it's not necessarily cramming that view down their throats, but just presenting it to them and letting them experience it in front of them. It challenges their deeply held beliefs. And I think that is right. I think that's incredibly important. But and all this is fascinating, and all this is incredibly informative, and I'm loving talking about it. But I don't want to stray too far from the topic at hand tonight. We are here to talk about your show, your one-man play, Did I Just Join a Cult? So we mentioned that it has ties to immersive theater. Do you want to just give us a quick rundown about it?
Yeah. So the show is a 1-hour monologue about an immersive theater production, which I kind of stumbled into in 2016. And it was very much like the movie The Game. If you've ever seen The Game with Michael Douglas, it's a fantastic film. And what was so great is that the creators of this show intentionally blurred the lines between what was theater and what was reality. And the result is very much what the show is based upon, which is me trying to determine, well, wait, am I actually in a show? Is this theater, or is this something else and something darker, which is masquerading as theater, and something sinister? But it acts as a catalyst as far as where I was in my life at the time. And it is a story of how a mystery impacted a really difficult time in my life and gave me a whole completely different perspective on everything that I was about. Is that the best way to describe it? Yeah, I think that's pretty mysterious enough, right?
So this was. I mean, it sounds like it was a really transformative experience that set you off in a whole different direction.
It was. I literally describe it as an inflection point in my life. I think we all have 3 or 4, and based on where I was in my life, I discovered. It's like, you're in a room with 15 doors and you've tried 14 of them, and then you remember, oh, there's a 15th, or you discover a 15th hidden behind, spackled walls and drywall, and it takes you into a whole other world. And it was a whole other world creatively, which was incredibly energizing and life-changing, life-affirming, life-challenging, and
That's fantastic. So what you're telling me is that you did, in fact, join the cult.
Yes, to a certain extent, I suppose you could say that's true. As I tell people, I say, I'm 97% certain that this was theater.
Okay, 97. Yeah, that's a fair ratio. That's a fair ratio. I think so. Although, one could argue that being in a theater company is akin to being in a cult. There is that.
Yes, there is, and because this show
there's enough sex, drugs, and rock and roll to make you question it. Yeah.
Well, the show itself was so meta that it became meta upon meta that you start to wonder exactly if you start to wonder, well, how do you define a cult anyway? It was an extraordinary experience, and I've been. Like I say, I was just incredibly grateful that universe lined up in such a way that I stumbled into this, and changed my perspective on everything.
And then you wrote a hit one-man show about the whole experience too, which is utterly fantastic. And you premiered that at the Hobgoblin Playhouse, the old Hobgoblin, not the new one, on Santa Monica Boulevard in 2024 at the Hollywood Fringe. And by all accounts, it was a smash hit. Like, I look at the reviews, I look at the reactions. Everybody really was enraptured by it.
I'm flattered. It was an extraordinary experience. My goal with the show, having done a lot of storytelling in 10 or 15 minute storytelling shows and venues, my goal here was, can I hold the stage for an hour? Now, I told the story many times over the previous 8 years, and the story never failed to captivate. So now it was a matter of, can I pull it down to an hour, find the central narrative structure, find the elements that will captivate people that they can emotionally relate to, and then tell a story and try to bring them into the world that I experienced. And thank God I have as much experience as I do as a writer, because it took everything I had to take an experience. How do you describe an experience which is transformative for yourself and convey that to an audience?
Yeah.
It's not easy. And I was really flattered, because a lot of people came out of that show asking all the right questions, So was it real? Was it a cult? Saying things like, wow, I really felt I was there. And that taught me so much about, when doing a one-person show, doing a monologue, exactly how the writing needs to be focused such that people are experiencing the five senses while they're listening, and they're imagining it in their own mind. And then coming out of the show saying, I really felt like I was there with you. It's a wonderful compliment.
That absolutely. And you have, I mean, just to not to fluff this up a little bit here, but I want to offer some commentary here. You do such a wonderful job in the script of painting the scene and setting the mood in every moment. And lighting helps. Doesn't hurt that you've got an award-winning lighting designer that really enjoys having a great time with that. That's me. Yes. But you with your words, you really do set a crystal clear scene of everything that's happening at every moment. And people will feel like that they're there with you because you paint it so well. It's playing out cinematically in their minds. And all I'm doing is just helping kind of like give that extra little 5% nudge to be like, no, this is you're on the right vibe, So
your lighting work was just terrific. This most recent iteration of it really was the lighting I wanted for the original show, because it adds a lot to it. I can talk, the visuals all I want, but bringing the lighting in as you did, and we designed this, and here's, and trying to feather in and bring out what we really wanted, was just great, because it really enhanced the mood in the way that words can only go so far. So it was exciting to be able to iterate it in its complete version that I was hoping for. So great job.
I'm deeply honored by that, and I hope I can continue to do it justice when we take it on the road to Parsons Nose in Pasadena on March 21st. That quick plug. That I've seen their light grid. They have some LEDs. They have some toys. They don't have any moving lights, sadly, but I do have enough to play with that I think I will be able to replicate most of the success that we had with setting the vibe. It's also in an old church.
Oh, that's very interesting.
So it's, they have a projector screen up behind the stage. It's an elevated raised stage, 16 by 16 platform, and a big ass projector screen right behind them. And you're in the main part. Why am I bad Catholic here? I should know the names of the parts of the church so much better. But you're there in the main
section of the church.
Yes,
the
main
church. Is that what it is? What's it called?
The rows of the seats are all where the pews were, except they're now actual theater seats. So the stage is about almost to where the altar is, and it's you want something where we can get like a little creepy, little supernatural feeling vibe. Like, this is going to hit that real well. I'm super excited. think the folks in Pasadena are in for a treat when they see this, because of the fact that the environment that we're in fits the vibe, which just makes it utterly fantastic. Yeah, I think that this is a fantastic show to bring on the road because of the quality of the storytelling, because of what you're talking about, where people are just along for the ride, and you weave this tale that enraptures folks and draws them in and gets them questioning, like, oh my God, how much of this is actually true? And it is a wild story. It's a wild story, even knowing that, there's theater involved here. And you actually, I don't want to spoil too much, but you do actually wind up getting behind the curtain, so to speak, at one point. It's still a wild ride. How much of it is true?
All of my stories are 100% true, which is maybe hard to believe. I've been accused of putting myself in wacky situations just to allow off stories for shows like this. But yes, it's 100% true. And what's so extraordinary about it is just the height of imagination and creativity that those involved in the production brought to it. And then, as I learned and have since built on, the amount of co-curation that the guest brings into the show, the amount to which they are willing to play, willing to accept the world that they're in and interact and interface with it, just amplifies and enhances the experience. So as wild as it seems, it was also at the time completely innovative. No one had done a show like this. We had Sleep No More in New York, and another wonderful show called Then She Fell. But no one had ever done something that was literally interactive, where it's just like you and I having a conversation right here for two and a half hours, walking through this space, which appears to be like its own actual location or organization. Extraordinarily inventive, extraordinarily imaginative, and for someone who falls into those spaces really easily, it was just, at least for me and for everyone else really who went through, it was completely innovative. No one had ever done this.
That's fun. That's fantastic. I love that. Yeah, because this was 2016. I mean, I knew of some like early fledgling immersive projects that happened in the early aughts, but that was because I was in LARPing circles, and it was much more game focused than storytelling, narrative focused,
Yes.
And that I can see how one leads into the other, because the Venn diagram between LARPers and theater people is mostly a circle. Yeah,
yes,
absolutely. And then, and also when you factor in tabletop gaming, it's just almost completely one loop. So I'm just trying to think back to some of the shows or some of the experiences that I'd heard about. Yeah, none of them really compared to the stuff you were talking about. Like I did a lot of improv games and a lot of improv troops, and where there was a lot of audience interactivity, stuff like that, but nothing as organized as this, and nothing as sustained, because they sent you emails in character before and after, and they sent you, you got messages and you got phone calls and stuff too. Yeah. Or was like,
this was it's amazing what they did. They wanted to expand the world beyond theater, beyond the space where the show was. And so, people were getting phone calls, they were getting emails, they were in conversations with characters. And this extended even further when they did their sequel to the show. And again, it's completely innovative. And by blurring those lines and bringing you into that space, you start to recognize, oh, you know what? All of life is play if you let it, right?
I like that. That's fun.
All the world's a stage, right?
Yeah, all the world's a stage, and we're all of us from really players who fret and strut our hour up on the stage. Yeah.
Yes,
I'm sorry I'm butchering it, but yeah, my career director from high school is punching a wall somewhere and not knowing why. Yeah,
it is. It's what the immersive at its best allows people to come into a space and be engaged in a drama that has been curated and which they become co-curators of. My daughter Amanda has been charging forward in this world herself. I guess she picked up the vibe from me. I'll take credit for it anyway. And so, you know, she's doing her own shows. Sorry?
Is she still at Emerson?
No, she graduated like a couple of years ago.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So she's been doing and building shows and community here.
Dope.
And working with a guy by the name of Jeff Worth, who's, you know, he would get very mad if I pointed out the fact that he's sort of a legend. He's in this space, and he's a guru. He is a teacher and mentor, and really kind of codified well before even tension came around. The tension experience, which is what this show is based on, codified interactive acting. And it's a whole different beast. It's elements of improv, it's elements of Meisner, but it's really its own beast. And the more training you have, the more experience you have, just the more the experience can be elevated.
Well, and that's the trick, is that you have to do such intense character work, because your conversations with your audience can wind up going anywhere. Like, you do have to know your person inside and out. You have to know, like, you have to. It's one thing to assume the character, but it's another thing to be like, live the character. And when they ask you about, your childhood, or, you know, what's your favorite food, or whatever else, how much of that do you draw upon from yourself, and how much of that do you actually know inside and out to be true for the role that you're playing? Like, that rabbit hole goes deep.
It really does. And the more that you are aware of your own character, the more that you can bring the guest into that experience, so that they will share elements about themselves. The very, very best immersive actors, and we have, I think, the best in the world here in Los Angeles. I've seen them. I've been in scenes with them. Will hold the space such that the participant who's coming in is able to step out of their comfort zone, maybe try, say, do things that they might not normally do in life. That's play. I've seen, you know, total introverts come alive in these spaces and just leave. People like talk about it like it's, you know, God, when can I do this again? You know, is there more stuff like this? Because people are energized by it. They discover the ability to play, the feeling that they're being seen in a special space, a magical space, and they can't get enough of it, because we don't have that really in our culture.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And I witnessed that in the LARPing world when I was growing up. I didn't really understand it or know it at the time, but most of the folks that I gamed with had very mundane lives. Like, I was in high school and in college, and a lot of the folks that I gamed with were adults, and they had mundane lives and their own frustrations and their own, you know, they didn't get to be, I'm going to say this and it's going to sound terrible, but they didn't get to be remarkable in normal life. But when they came to game and they put their costumes on, and we went out on quests or missions, or, you know, when the big battle happened, like, they got to be big damn heroes and let a whole different side of themselves breathe, you know? And then at the end of the weekend, everybody would doff the costumes and doff the character and go back to reality. But that, for that one shining moment of, whether it be a few hours or a few days, they got to live out their dream. And it is an incredible release. And I love the idea that immersive theater, I mean, we used to go out and drive out into the woods in the middle of Northern Virginia or in Western Massachusetts, and just go out to the campgrounds out there and just do this amongst ourselves, and, you know, be rubber elf ears and padded weapons and crap like that. But now here, and it was a whole thing. It was a whole bubble where games would go anywhere from a day to a whole weekend, or to a whole long holiday weekend. I think the longest event that I went to was 5 days. That was a great time. That was back when I was in college and didn't have responsibility, so that worked out fantastic then. Can't get away with that anymore.
No, that speaks to the whole idea of, you know, of that's what children do when we're children. That was our world, and our culture doesn't really allow for play. As we get over, we get self-conscious about it. Stop being childish and so on. But there's been a tremendous amount of research into play a lot of stuff came out of Stanford University in the 70s. John Cleese from Monty Python actually became a huge advocate. He did a very famous speech where he said, this needs to be introduced here in the corporate world, in the world of management. And the key to that, and the key element of it, is a safe space to play where there's no judgment. Mm-hmm. And I mean, the wacky, insanity, fun, exciting, sexy, scary stuff that can happen in immersive theater when people are set loose and they recognize that they're able to play safely without judgment, and the people that they're playing across from are just as game as they are. Yeah, I mean, it's gold. It's gold.
Absolutely.
I've just seen people transform. It's wonderful.
And then when they find that sliver of something that they can then take back into the real world with them, for lack of a better term, take it back into the real world and have that new element, that confidence, that swagger, that something that they discovered about themselves that feels empowering, that feels like growth.
Yes.
That's what I find to be invaluable about this. I mean, I ran a group of adventurers when I was gaming, and as a result, I wouldn't have called myself a leader before I did that, mm-hmm. But when I'm like leading the vanguard into a fight, and I'm the one, coordinating the line and everything else in the heat of things, it's and I'm 19 years old and doing that. I mean, I recognize that soldiers are doing that for real, and it's they're facing actual, bullets and shit, but for sheltered kid playing a fantasy game, that represented a real opportunity to grab the reins, and I wouldn't have necessarily had that otherwise. And that confidence expanded, and I managed to take that confidence and that experience and expand my own powers and repertoire in real life with it.
I was going to say, it's also extraordinary. Something I've noticed is that within the world of immersive theater, I see people at their very best. You see a lot of compassion. You see a lot of caring. The very best of people come out. One of the things that Jeff Worth and his protege, Joanna Harmon, and my daughter Amanda have really helped to establish are scenes that are really very simple in construct, which is you have the participant come in, they meet someone, a relationship is established, then conflict is introduced, and the question is, now the person has to kind of navigate that situation, negotiate the situation while experiencing a deep empathy.
Yeah.
So seeing the very best of people in these worlds is also, it's just so wonderful. It's just so wonderful to see people happy, empathic, kind to each other, compassionate to each other. It's also a wonderful, beautiful reminder of how wonderful humans can be.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to build on that, it gives space for people to be heard and perceived without, and to bring it up again, without judgment. But I think a lot of people go through this world feeling like they're invisible, yep. or feeling like that they don't matter, and then being thrust into a situation where they're heard, seen, people are actually talking to them, they are being listened to, they have say, they have agency that they may otherwise lack in life. That I could just see how, I could see exactly how this is addictive and in a good way, and such a fantastic experience for people, because I think everybody wants to feel like they're part of something, yes. And if we are specific, if they are in a space where space is being specifically made for them, mm-hmm. everybody wants to feel like they belong, and that's the beauty of that.
It is I think the core, as I've learned, the core human need that we all want is we all want to feel seen and heard. And mm-hmm. immersive theater, when done right, when properly executed, does exactly that. And I think that's one of the reasons people, are addicted to it. It's like, I want to do this again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely, because they're finding something that they may not be getting in their normal life, in their normal day to day.
And then they can learn. Hopefully, they can then learn how to create that dynamic in the mm-hmm. real world.
Yeah, that's hopefully the next step that people take is once they realize what it is that they're missing, how can they go about empowering themselves and building it for themselves?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, because maybe folks don't even know what it is that they're lacking. They don't have the vocabulary for it. But now suddenly it's like, oh, I that tracks. And I that's a beautiful thing, people being able to find empowerment.
Yes, particularly through drama, through art. That's what we do. That's its purpose, right?
Yeah, that's why drama as therapy is actually like a legitimate field and a legitimate, that's why they've got drama in the prison projects and other things. It's like it's
play therapy, was also, I guess, pioneered I think somewhere in the 70s. And this is in some of the comments, some of the wonderful reviews that came from the show. To bring it back to that, a lot of people said, here's a quote which I love: "The transformative power of a story well told can save a life and set it on a completely different path. If a piece of art has ever done that for you, you'll recognize something of yourself in Larry's show." I mean, that's what a beautiful comment, and that's exactly what it is. The fact that show transformed me, and if I can tell this story to others, and first of all, get them to experience and be curious about this whole new art form, but at the same time, discover that art can make a difference for them, that drama can make a difference for them. That's wonderful.
Absolutely. So let me ask you this real quick. Lawrence, is the OOA aware that you've lifted the veil of secrecy about their organization?
Yes, and they are. I've never received any pushback, which makes me think they want me to continue to pull back the veil. Yes, and the way that they operate is such that this would be very on brand for this organization. That's right. Go tell everybody about us.
That's right. Who's going to believe you? Yeah.
Either that or let everyone believe you.
Yeah, even better. Do you know if anybody, but seriously though, do you know if anybody from the Tension Experience or the cast or anybody's come to see your show, anything like that?
Yeah, it was great. A number of the actors, the director Darren Bousman came to the show. A lot of participants who also later went behind the curtain themselves came, and it's great because they are reminded at a time when things can be really difficult for the arts, or difficult for them. Hey, we kind of caught lightning in a bottle that time, and it brought back a lot of really great memories, and certainly for me, a reminder of, wow, when it comes to being creative, sky's the limit. Having gotten to know everybody involved in that show and all the stuff going on behind the scenes, and how much of it was scripted, and then how much of the show evolved night to night based on how people were responding, and changes made on the fly, and the actors wearing earpieces and go here, go there, go there. The fact that it's sort of a controlled chaos, which is Darren's style, is very exciting. So actors who are great at improvisation, who are great at moving on the fly and performing on the fly without that net, would eat this up. Same for people who like to live that way.
Yeah. And there's a certain breed of performer that loves to just live on that bleeding edge of just like, fuck it, we'll do it live, and we'll figure it out as we go. I like to think I'm that guy, but I have more and more just been like, no, we got to just run this ship. Like I'm too much of a producer now, where it's like, this is fucking by the numbers, guys. It's just I've had way too many things that I've tried to wing just blow up in my face. So I want.
Well, it's what's extraordinary, and again, I'd had like a couple of improv comedy classes, like
for sure. Everybody's 5, done 6 years,
right before Tension. What that experience did for me was to actually make me much more aware of being present in everyday life, because in that show I was there, I was right there, paying very close attention to everything, and I realized, wow, I should take this lesson and put it into everyday life, and it's made a huge difference. Sure. And the ability then to kind of build on that in terms of living life via improvisation, because we like to think we're in control, but many times we aren't, and being able to roll with those punches, to improvise, to play sometimes, it's a dividend that just keeps paying. It gets bigger and bigger, at least for me.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think, yeah, the ability to just roll with things and in an age where technology is in your pocket, and you have the Library of Alexandria right here, the idea that being present, whether it be for, an event or a conversation or whatever else, it almost seems anathema, because when everybody's glued to their screens and constantly being force-fed input from everywhere.
Yes.
Yeah, we're constantly being overloaded with signals. So the idea of, I'm just going to be here in this moment, existing right now with you, and we're not going to worry about anything in the outside world. We're just going to be present. That, I think, is sadly becoming rarer and rarer. So the idea that we are reminding people of the importance of that and what is the value of getting that is critical.
It improves interpersonal relationships, just like more than I think I ever realized. We talk, I think it's kind of a buzzword to say, "Oh, be present."
Mm-hmm.
And what I've learned is you can pay lip service to that, but being present means like, I'm here, I'm locked into you, nothing else exists. And I've had those moments in certain immersive shows when I'm a participant, where literally I am so locked in to what is happening right in front of me that I have no clue what else is going on around me.
Yeah.
And people will talk about, "Oh, you remember this moment or that moment or that moment?" I'm like, "Nope." And they're like, "Nope. It was like right next to you." And like, I was talking to so-and-so and right.
Yeah.
And that has improved. I carry that over such that interpersonal relationships in a loud party, in a loud bar, lock in. It's so much more rewarding to really connect with someone, and people notice it.
And to be able to drown out the noise, which is
Yes.
a skill in and of itself, because that noise will do everything it can to permeate and distract.
Yes, exactly.
No, absolutely. And yeah, and when you are having a genuine connection with somebody like that, absolutely, they recognize that, and they'll lock in with it. That's you recognize it when you see it.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Yeah. So besides the tension experience, what other and dark arts, what other immersive experiences have you had, either as a patron or as a creator?
Boy, there have been so many. Darren's team did a follow-up called The Lust Experience, which is wonderful. Then they did another show called Theater Macabre, which took place in a space downtown of a theater where everyone that was in there basically they would die and resurrect and die and resurrect. The whole theater was cursed. And so that was very close to an open world in terms of wandering around and connecting with certain characters. And that's a track that you would be on. Darren did another show in Kansas City about a year and a half ago that took place out in the woods, and he and his team created an experience there that was really beautifully intense, in that it was with a group of people who owned this plot of land. They appear like hillbillies and they're always covered with blood. You're like, what the hell is that about? But they're actually the good guys, because there's a group of people in suits who are like, well, we're going to suck the magic out of the land and we own it now. So it allowed for a lot of play. There's a show which is ongoing right now, and it's been going for a number of years, called The Willows by JFI Productions.
Oh, yeah.
And this is where you go to a fantastic mansion in the West Adams district, and you have dinner, about 20, 25 people, and then you have dinner with a family that's gone through a recent loss. And what you slowly discover is that this is it's almost like a gothic thriller, that the people that you're eating with are not entirely stable. So it's thrilling. It's a wonderful show. It's a pricey ticket, but for anyone who is interested, excited about immersive, that is into sort of the thriller genre, it's a fantastic choice. There were shows in New York. Poor Sleep No More ran for many years as another wonderful show called Then She Fell. And then there have been a lot of indie productions here in town. LA, I think, is kind of, my daughter described it as, a place where the indie shoestring uh, um, production can thrive, and it can to a certain extent. And there are wonderful like little 30-minute shows. There's a wonderful show called Hag, which was just this past summer, I think. No, maybe it was the summer, which was basically a very brief take on, imagine if Macbeth's three witches were squatters in an apartment and you were called to remove them. So it's a hoot. It's so much fun. The three wonderful actresses, and it's like a 4-person experience. So there are just 4 of you. Those little shows like that are super effective and tons of fun. And there've just been so many shows over the year. And so for people who are interested, they should go to noproscenium.com.
Oh, yeah. Noah Nelson runs that. Yeah.
That's right. Yep. And the Everything Immersive Facebook page. So there are too many to count. And I encourage people that if this is of any interest, to go check them out.
I'm looking at Everything Immersive real quick.
Yeah.
I knew about No Proscenium, but Everything Immersive, do I follow that? I don't think I do. Oh, I'm going to join that. Amazing.
Yeah.
Very cool. And the first thing that comes up is talking about VR as well.
Yeah, there's VR is sort of you might say immersive adjacent.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, and they have the Gorillaz has the House of Kong going on here. I'm a big Gorillaz fan.
Oh yes.
So that's
don't know how interactive that will be, but it's certainly worth checking out.
Yeah, I'll have to look at that review later. Amazing. Well, awesome. Well, that's a great tip. I think I will put links to both No Proscenium and Everything Immersive down in the show notes below. I really, really appreciate that. Other thing we'll put in there, of course, is info about the LA Freeway Circuit. All right, did you ever think that you'd be touring the show?
No. Although in the past year, a couple of months ago, I'm like, you know what? Why do I need to stay in LA? Where else can I do shows? Whether it's the monologues or anything else. Chicago, New York, London. There's lots of places we can do.
Absolutely, lots of great places to do it. I mean, I feel like your show would do well at Edinburgh Fringe.
Oh, thanks. I understand it's a bit of a mess over there.
It's crazy. I mean, I produced there for the first time last year with one of my own shows, and it's a lot. It's 10 times the size of Hollywood Fringe, but you also have literally millions of people in the city, or not millions. It goes from 500,000 to 3 million, the average population of Edinburgh.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so you literally millions of people, like 2 million people, that are there just to see shows, and or be in shows, and it's everywhere. Like you can't not be involved in it. It's just all over the place. I think you have to go with a strategy. You have to you have to find the right venue that fits you. There's plenty of options, but if you want to do something in a bar, great. If you want something that's a little bit more technical, you want to get one of like maybe something at the University of Edinburgh with Pleasance, or one of the Gilded Balloon spots or something like that. There's a lot of like, it's a steep learning curve. That's the other thing that I learned. It's a steep learning curve, and there's a lot more to putting a show up there, especially if you're coming from out of the country. It's expensive, but it's a hell of a lot of fun. It is a magical time. I kept telling my cast, I was like, we want to do the whole month. They're like, we can do 10 days. And I was like, you guys are all a bunch of wimps. And they're like, one of them's like, I have a 6-month-old. One of them's like, I have 2 children. And somebody else is like, I have a job that will only give me like 10 days off. So I was like, God damn it. But we got to about day 8 or 9, and they were all like, why can't we do the whole month? And I was like, you're the fuckers who told me we couldn't, So yeah, it is Hollywood Fringe and the LA theater scene in general works really hard to build audiences in a city that doesn't really care about the fact that there's some of the most remarkable theater happening in the world happening in LA. It's not even just not aware of it. It's theater is the redheaded stepchild in LA compared to TV and film. Although now arguably TV and film have left town for the most part. I mean, I do see some things coming back, but there's and I think that I see more and more TV and film people doing theater because they've all got that itch they got to scratch. So there's more things happening. I'm seeing more features in the LA Times and stuff like that about, what's happening in the theater scene. So it's nice to feel like there's a little bit of recognition growing there. But really in LA, it is a heavy lift. It really is swimming really hard upstream to try and get any sort of traction. And in Scotland, literally we would spend an hour in the afternoon flyering, and our house would be over half full, mostly with people that we saw that day out on the Royal Mile.
Wow.
Like,
how big was the house?
50. Yeah, we had 50 in the house, so we had like 20 or we always had at least 25 people in the house every night. We usually got 30 or 35, and that is unique because we found out that the average house size was 4 across the whole festival. The average house was 4. Yeah.
Wow.
But we hustled. We had a whole crew. We had a great hook. Our show was interactive theater. It wasn't immersive theater, but it was interactive theater. The audience voted who lived, who died, who got away with the bag full of cash. And there were multiple decision points throughout the show. So it had that great interactive hook. It was a very American show. They all knew that we were Americans because we had a gun in the show. So as a result, it was just like, oh, you got a gun. Oh, you're Americans. Like, okay, There was a lot of things that kind of gave us away, but we didn't. It wasn't just like the solo show about this is who I was and how I decided to become an actor. Like we came in with I always say that I am the first one to shit on solo theater. I hate to say that. I hate to admit that publicly, but there's so many solo shows that I have seen that should just be. I'm like, you should have spent the money that you spent on renting the theater on therapy instead, and you get a lot more out of it.
Well, that's actually a really salient point, which is solo shows, monologues. I've seen a lot of them, and I model mine on a name probably nobody knows, which is Spalding Gray. He was sort of, in many ways, the godfather of the monologue back in New York City back in the 70s. It's not easy to do because it can't be navel gazing. It can't be just talking about yourself. It has to be something that is relevant to everyone. It needs to be universal, and you have to bring them into essentially your life, and yet not make it about you. It's a really tricky, dicey thing, and it takes a lot of skill and time and effort. And I made sure, interestingly, as I was writing this, and I do this with all my monologues now, is first of all to write it in the present tense so that it is immediate and it's now. The second thing is to go through and try to eliminate the word I as much as I possibly could.
Yeah, absolutely. Because yes, this is our experience. This is our truth. This is our whatever that we're sharing. But really, a good solo show isn't about the artist. It's about what the audience gets out of it. And I think that is one of the things that anybody that has I don't want to say a bad solo show, but a not good solo show, that's like the number one thing that they lack is why is the audience going to experience it? What are they getting out of this?
There's a friend of mine who was in advertising forever, and he said, this is true of any ad you ever see on TV, billboards, anything. And I think it's also true with respect to entertainment. There are only 2 questions people ask when they see a trailer, an ad, or whatever. Who are you and why should I care?
Yes.
So you better have those buttoned up real quick because for a solo show, nobody knows who you are. So you have to make it relatable. And it has to be something that is sort of couched in a universal human experience that everyone can relate to in one way or another, that is or a mystery.
Yes, absolutely. And honestly, I was hooked just from the moment that I heard your title because I was like, oh, okay. So this is it's the mystery. It's the mystery. Like I'm intrigued. I was like, oh shit, there's going to be some intrigue happening here. There's going to be some questionable judgment and shady characters. Like I'm excited.
Well, thank God there have been so many, like I say, HBO documentaries about cults because that's sort of, it's interesting. The cult is something that I think is archetypal in our culture, which is this idea of falling into something that you're unaware of and being controlled by it. I think that's a primal fear. I think that might be why people respond to it. And then the idea that it's a question of, did I just do this?
Yeah.
That I think that's what resonated with people.
That's so cool. That's so cool. Absolutely. Yeah. And it really is. Yeah. That's what makes your show stand out, is the fact that it is relatable. There's a vulnerability in the title. There's a vulnerability in the premise, you know, and that makes people curious. It feels like there's a little bit of exposure of your soul here of like, did I just fuck up? And if there's one thing that people enjoy watching, it's a good car crash, you know?
That, and actually just said something interesting, which is we spend so much time. I think people, we're always wearing a mask. We're always wearing personas. We want to seem strong. I think theater in particular is a great opportunity to, if we're actors, we're up there, we're already exposing our emotional realities to people. So if it's a story about vulnerability, if it's a story about questionable decisions, I think people identify with that because hopefully they're walking away saying, oh, if he showed that these elements of himself, these parts of himself which are more vulnerable, where he's making these questionable decisions, well, maybe I don't need to be so controlling or hiding myself so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or they'll just think I'm an idiot. I don't know.
¿Por qué no los dos, right? So I feel like I've got a couple more questions here, but I feel like we've already kind of answered them. But I'm gonna throw them out there anyway, just in case there's some more gold to mine in them Lar Hills. Is there a particular draw to immersive work for you over traditional stage?
Yeah, for me at least. Well, as a performer, because it allows me to truly be in a moment that I don't have control of. And I like thinking on my feet. I like feeling on my feet. I like trying to challenge and myself and the person I'm with. So the sort of idea of being in my body and in the emotion of the present moment is really exciting. It's energizing. It's just electric to me. And coming in as a participant versus the stage. Well, I guess also as a performer, there's nothing wrong with doing a scripted material, but I often feel that it's harder for me to like find that place of being present in that moment because I'm speaking lines which I already know.
Yeah,
so I just happen to really get electrified by the more improvisational approach.
Absolutely. And that is the challenge of traditional stage acting, is finding that freshness and that new unique moment in working the same lines every night over and over again. And how do you keep the same material fresh? It's fresh your first performance, but you've been working for 6 weeks at that point, or 40 hours or whatever. But how do you keep it fresh at your 10th performance, your 20th, your 50th? How do you how do you keep delivering that same reality? And that's the challenge of stage acting that I love, but also it's something you got to wrestle with, So yeah, the improvisational nature of interactive and immersive work will absolutely ground you in that reality, and you have to be listening, and you have to be locked in every time, and you have to be able to shut everything else out in order to have that complete circuit and make sure that you're not missing anything. I could see exactly the appeal of that. That's fantastic. What do you want to have patrons get from seeing your show? Like what message, what feeling is there? What do you want to see them walk away with?
I think the idea, living life more towards the comedy improv mantra of yes and, that hopefully people will maybe step out of themselves a little bit. They'll find an adventurousness they didn't know they had, or that they want to explore. And that I think ultimately to open themselves to connection and to vulnerability and being more openly emotional with their own lives. That would be really cool, I think. And of course, to introduce them to this exciting medium.
Absolutely. I like that. And I think knowing the show, I feel like that is something that they will successfully get from that.
Good. I hope so.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right on the money and right on the mark, just based on me having seen it a couple of times now. Yeah.
And I guess the other thing is that they are captivated by the drama, that they're there along for the ride, because I'm telling the story sure for myself, but for them, because I want them to have a good time. I'd like them to experience this extraordinary experience I had is in the best way that I know how to tell it.
I love that. All right. Well, standard Hollywood follow-up after or besides Did I Just Join a Cult? What else are you working on right now?
I'm working on a large-scale immersive show for this October. The goal is to sort of have a very David Lynch vibe to a space that will have, there'll be entertainment and there'll be music and there'll be dancing and booze, but the idea is to give people an opportunity to step into a dreamlike world and see what it might be like to encounter characters in a dream.
Okay.
Or
any particular inspiration or any sort of like pantheon or anything you're drawing from, or is this all?
I said sort of David Lynch inspired. So much of his work is really a dream, and that's the approach that I'm kind of going for. So so we're at the very sort of early stages of planning that, but that's going to be a very large production.
Yeah, I definitely want to talk with you more in the future, probably hopefully on the pod here, about what pre-production on an immersive show looks like and how crazy that is. Because I'm sure you've got stories and insights. So
yes, happy to do so.
Yeah. And you are, if people want to follow you and connect with you, you are on Instagram, correct?
I am, and I probably should have a website at some point, but in the meantime, just connect there on Instagram, and I'll be sure to let you know about what I'm up to.
Awesome. Well, I will put Larry's the traditional link down in the video description, but in the meantime, if you want to follow me, you can also scan the QR code right here. Also, we hope you will join us March 21st at Parsons Nose Theater in Pasadena for Did I Just Join a Cult? You will be headlining the night at 7:30. Not 8 o'clock. The wrong poster went out yesterday by accident. It's going to be 7:30. But yeah, you could scan that right over there. I'm getting it right for once. Oh my God. I usually always reverse it. But yeah, scan that QR code, get some tickets. Come and join us for Did I Just Join a Cult? March 21st, 7:30 at Parsons Nose in Pasadena. Larry, thank you so much for your time tonight. It's always a pleasure talking with you, man. And I'm really, really glad that we got to chat about this. But I'm also excited to have you on the circuit with us for Parsons Nose, and hopefully for future stops as well. We'll talk more about that later. Yeah, well, listen, thanks so much for your support for this audience and for, of course, all the great creative work that we do together. Oh, it's my pleasure. My honor and my pleasure. All right, brother. Thank you so much, and we will be talking to you again real soon. Very good. All right, well, that's it for this episode of On Our Stage. So, did Larry really join a cult, or was that just wishful thinking? Let us know what you think in the comments below. I'd like to thank Larry for coming on the pod today to talk about his show. As we discussed, I think his story does speak to something deep within each and every one of us. The desire to connect, to be included, to be part of something bigger than ourselves. But hey, don't take my word for it. Come and see it for yourself on March 21st at 7:30 p.m. at Parsons Nose in Pasadena. Beyond Did I Just Join a Cult, we have 3 other shows in the lineup for the LA Freeway Circuit's first stop of 2026 that day. Anytime and Place by Azucena Flores and Josh Sweezy. We Are Traffic, written and performed by Jonathan Tipton Myers, and the new musical Belladonna Highway by Ben Boquist and Ben Baharana Ginsberg, presented in concert. And we're going to be interviewing all of them in the coming weeks. Matter of fact, next week we will probably do a double episode drop to make sure we get through everyone before the performance. So stay tuned. Thanks again for joining us, friends. Remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And as always, we'll see you at the theater. Bye.